Well, I am grateful that we have a little bit of sun for our flower ceremony this morning. The flower ceremony that we'll do in a little bit dates back to 1923 to the Unitarian minister Norbert Čapek, who developed it for his congregation in Prague in Czechoslovakia. It's a ceremony that is based on beauty and uniqueness and the natural world, so I was crossing my fingers that we would have something that looked like spring today. The Wisconsin weather seems to be taunting us, soaking us with beauty and then dousing us in rain on a repeat cycle. Sometimes those ups and downs feel like a mirror for our lives right now. Gorgeous blossoming and bedraggled loss. The trees call to us to slow down and witness. Henry David Thoreau wrote, "I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived." How do we do that, though? How do we take our hurried, chock-full lives and simplify? This past winter, Marie Kondo burst back into American culture with her Netflix special about simplifying called Tidying Up with Marie Kondo, based on the 2014 release of her book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. Kondo's KonMari method simplifies by inviting people to go through all of their stuff and get rid of everything that doesn't spark joy. The method has people hold every single object in their hands and ask themselves, does this thing bring me joy? Predictably, in a consumer culture whose life systems are rooted deeply in capitalism, this has provoked some rather extreme reactions. Some people have experienced it as life-changing magic. Other folks have said that having so much stuff to throw away is itself elitist privilege. Others have reacted to gender roles and sexism in the show, while still others have recognized the extreme backlash against Kondo as racist, sexist reactions to a successful woman of color. I am sure that there are deep and passionate feelings in this room about Marie Kondo. You are a passionate people. However, I suspect that some of these passionate reactions are stand-ins for reactions to the systems that Marie Kondo is engaging with, rather than herself. The most controversial episode in progressive circles, anyway, was the episode in which Kondo encourages a young couple to clean out their book collection of any books that do not spark joy, with a goal of getting down to 30 books total. She even suggested that if only parts of a book sparked joy, you tear those parts out. Now, for a bibliophile like me, 30 books in the house is not the correct number. I grew up in a house piled with books, and I'm happy to say that my house now is running out of shelves. My own mother, the retired librarian, is better at managing books than I am. She gets books from the library and then she returns them. It's not for me. But this is where simplifying returns us to asking questions about meaning. Meaning. And that's why I think that Marie Kondo gets such pushback. She challenges us to interrogate the meaning that we make out of material objects. What do those books mean to me? Are they sitting there as an obligation, waiting to be read like a literary to-do list on my coffee table? Are they a symbol of my intellect? A way to surround myself with feel-good representations of how smart I am or might become? Are they an attachment to the times and the places that those books came from? The theology book that changed my life, the novel that opened me up to forgiveness. Why is it that I have a visceral reaction to getting rid of some of my books? Of course, as a preacher, there is some simple practicality. I use the books as references for sermons, I promise. But as a human, books bring me joy. They bring me great pleasure in the reading and in the reflection on them. I love having them around. And in the KonMari method, that's actually the point. Does this thing spark joy? If the answer is yes, go ahead and keep it. Kondo is asking folks to recenter joy in their lives rather than stuff. Centering joy instead of stuff is a radical, even destabilizing concept, calling us to reprioritize the non-material aspects of life, things like relationship, creativity, the body, this living earth. With the KonMari method, it's a bit of a refracting prism because it heads towards simplicity through materiality. It asks us to shift priorities away from stuff by really focusing on that stuff for a little while. But the ultimate goal is less stuff, more simplicity, focus and centering on joy as the priority. And when the stuff goes, when the noise of it dies down, there's more room for the non-material. Simplicity is a tool, it's a practice to clear out the excess material in order to be able to focus on Thoreau's essential facts of life. Simplicity is a way to go to the woods, to dial down the frenetic busyness and be present to what matters most. Our American culture can be a satisfaction chaser through material goods as well as through busyness. Buy this next product and you will finally be satisfied. Achieve this next goal and you will finally be satisfied. Do this next self-improvement activity, the KonMari method even, and you will finally be satisfied. Stephen Jenkinson, a theologian, author, storyteller who has worked extensively with people who have come to die, writes that contentment is not the key to joy. He writes, "The devotion to personal contentment is the depression machine. because it whispers to you that happiness should be the discernible consequence of you winning, of you trying hard, of your best intent being at the forefront of all your design. And a lot of people in the world ancestrally knew long ago that being content or that sense of well-being is a consequence of your willingness to help the world live. That your happiness, and actually let me change happiness to health, that your health is related to the health of everything around you. Simplifying must be more than a personal satisfaction project, more than another self-improvement to do. Simplifying done well removes excess detritus so that we can focus on what's really important. Real happiness, joy, comes from connecting personal satisfaction with the health and the well-being of the world, or as Frederick Buechner said, that place where our deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. Ridding yourself of excess material objects that are not part of your aliveness is one move towards that kind of connected joy. Not participating in the capitalism factory that moves you to buy things you don't need in the first place is a bigger move towards that kind of joy. Shifting to a culture that's built on bird song and clean water and healthy, nurtured people of all races, ages, and economic capacities is an even bigger move towards that joy. In making successive moves towards simplicity, we must keep asking ourselves, what is it that really matters? The Reverend Jan Eller Isaacs of Unity Church Unitarian in St. Paul shared a story from author and church member Cynthia Orange about the day that Cynthia's father's doctor told him that he had 2 weeks left to live. The doctor, Dr. Carl, had been her father's doctor for decades, and they had a close relationship. And Dr. Carl sat her dad down, looked him in the eyes, and told him the news. And he said, "Bob, I love you." After they left the office, Cynthia turned to her dad and asked him if he understood what the doctor had just told him. And Bob responded, "Dr. Carl said he loved me." What is it that really matters? Where does your deep gladness meet the world's deep need? And what detritus of excess might you be able to get rid of to focus on that? Terry Tempest Williams wrote, "Once upon a time, there was the simple understanding that to sing at dawn and to sing at dusk was to heal the world through joy. The birds still remember what we have forgotten, that this world is meant to be celebrated." May it be so.